All right, we're gonna get started there. No, not her. Yeah, we could. We're waiting for Jane Ann, but we're gonna run through whatever.
Putting big holes. Yeah, you got the minutes. and
Yeah,
resolution.
right.
And you know,
This meeting in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law, PL 1975, Chapter 231. Notice this meeting was posted in 2 newspapers, The Record and the Ridgewood News. This meeting is advised that the planning board's rule. The meeting will be concluded by 10 p.m. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here. Mr. Panza.
Here.
Mr. Chair. Here. Vice Chairman Juwan.
Here.
Mr. Kaufman.
Here.
Mr. Barbara.
Here.
Chairman Belgreen.
Here. And Jane Ann will be tardy. Yeah. Minutes from March 25th.
Motion.
All in favor?
Okay.
And we've got a resolution for Eagle Hill. Sal, any comments on the resolution or any issues with it?
Not that I know.
Okay. The applicant's got a read on it.
Yeah, I haven't received any
Any
comments or any response from anyone.
It was a nice easy application. Do we get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
You want a roll call?
Councilwoman Marsh. Yes. Mr. Panza.
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman.
Yes.
Mr. Barbara.
Yes.
Chairman Belgreen.
Yes. All right, the 2 items on tonight's agenda. If anyone is here, do you want me to go through if anyone's here for 60 Shore?
Yeah, I'll make an announcement on that. Is there anyone here on the 60 Shore Road application? Todd Dreby and Melissa Milkanos? Yeah, it's actually been listed 2 times before, and the applicant's attorney has requested that this be postponed until the May meeting, or perhaps even later than that. So if anyone is watching and is interested in that application, look for it at the May meeting. You'll not receive any additional notice, and we'll take it up at that time.
Okay.
I don't see anyone here that acknowledged that they're here on that application tonight.
Right, so then tonight we have the areas in need of redevelopment studies for both Hilton, which is 200 Tice Boulevard, and BMW 300 Chestnut Ridge Road. Dan from BMR is going to do the presentation, and we are going to test our technology for the first time.
All right, I have faith.
Wow.
The picture in picture is,
That makes it, and it's on both screens, which is good.
all right. Well, we'll try to work with the picture in picture, but let me just get this to. I'm gonna start tonight with the BMW.
300 Chestnut Ridge.
Yes, 300 Chestnut Ridge. So let me start with introducing myself. Good evening, members of the board, members of the public. For those of you who don't know me, which is most of you, I am Dan Haubin. I am Senior Project Planner at DMR Architects. I know you're all used to seeing Fran here. He's not here tonight, so I am. So tonight I'm presenting to you the 2 area in need of redevelopment studies for the former Hilton site and the former BMW site. BMW is on the board first, so we'll start with that. So this is block 601 lot 1, address of 300 Chestnut Ridge Road.
So you're going to be testifying and give us some factual testimony as well as opinion testimony?
Yes, I was just gonna explain that. Yes,
I think I should swear you in.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. You swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. For those of you who have not sat through a redevelopment study before, the way that a redevelopment process takes place is that it starts off with the governing body requesting that the planning board conduct an investigation of one or more properties or sections of properties to determine if they meet one or more of 8 statutory criteria laid out by the state. And if a property does meet those conditions, the planning board can make a recommendation to the governing body to designate those properties as areas in need of redevelopment. So
Before you go any further, and I apologize for interrupting you, could you give us the benefit of your qualifications?
yeah, of course. I am licensed in the state of New Jersey as a professional planner. I have my national AICP certification. I've had both since summer of, oh boy, it was either 2014 or 2015. And I've been a planner since 2000 and sorry, not 2004. I was in high school. 2014. The years kind of merge together. And I've done dozens of investigation studies for areas in need of redevelopment.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else before I keep get too comfortable? Keep moving.
I promise not to interrupt.
All right, no,
Too
feel
much
free.
more.
Feel free. All right, so when you designate an area in need of redevelopment, it's very important to understand that that designation does not change the zoning on that property. That designation does not cause whatever the use of that property is to be prohibited. It sets the foundation for the governing body to adopt what's called a redevelopment plan, which is I like to describe as fancy zoning. It's very specific, site-specific zoning that typically goes beyond the specifications that you would find in regular zoning, because the redevelopment process, the benefit of it at least, is that it gives the municipality more power over what can be created on a property than regular zoning would do. So and to that point, any developer that wants to redevelop the site would have to come before this board, just as any other development would, to receive review to get variances for any deviations from that redevelopment plan. So it's generally the same open process as that the planning board is used to with any other kind of major application. So this particular study was authorized by resolution 24-311 by the governing body on December 16th, 2024. The resolution authorizing the study was specifically said that it is without condemnation. So what that means is that the borough is not going to use condemnation to take control of the property if it is designated as an area in need of redevelopment. It can only be developed through initiation by a private developer. When DMR prepared this report, we, and by we I mean Francis Reiner, who led the process, we did what we normally do. We go through the site, looked at the exterior and interior of the buildings, the parking, paved surfaces, drainage, infrastructure. We pull documents from the municipality, including fire, building records, want to know if there's been any active violations on the site and what's been mitigated and what hasn't. We pull deeds from the county to find out if there's any conditions that explain why a feature of the property is the way it is. And we have a comprehensive photo inventory, so that even after we leave the site, we can always look back and try to remember what we saw while we were in there. And you see a lot of that in the report. So I think I explained the last 2 bullet points already. So what happens if the properties are designated? Like I said, the borough is able to adopt a redevelopment plan that has the effect of either changing the zoning on the property or creating an overlay zone, depending on how the municipality wants to approach it. It also allows for a municipality to offer a payment in lieu of taxes, which changes the payment structure and provides a great benefit for the municipality in terms of revenue. If there's any findings in our report that suggest a violation from the code, it is not the equivalent of a violation. So just because we find a hazard in the building doesn't mean that, you know, we're issuing a violation to the building for that. So the property that we're talking about, so everyone knows, is in the office research zone. It is the original BMW office building. It dates back to 1986, as well as the garage. And the result of our investigation of the property is a finding that it meets criterion A. That's the first of the 8 criteria laid out by the state for designating a property as an area in need. And criteria, the short summary of what criterion A says is that buildings are obsolete, obsolescent, substandard, unsafe, unsanitary, or one or more of those terms to the extent that they are not wholesome to living or working conditions. And we'll, here's the full language. So we've highlighted substandard, obsolescent, in this case, because those are the terms that most apply to the BMW building, and unwholesome to working conditions. So bear with me while I take a breath. Actually, before I move on to this next section, does anyone have any questions about what I just said, knowing that I'm about to get into the specifics about the property? Anything? All right.
Can we mark your report, just, you know, for the record, that
Sure.
the study WCL1, and I know you have some other exhibits that you may refer to, and
I think it's just 24. But, sure.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 documents we have, I think, is the report
part of the report.
and the, just a.
Presentation.
Just a
Oh,
PowerPoint.
okay. So what are we labeling it, did you say?
WCL1.
You got it.
So the report covers a wide range of findings about the property, but I want to focus on what I think are the most important, which are that the building has been significantly underutilized since COVID-19 epidemic in 2020. Since that time, it's our understanding that the building was only 60% occupied, and just for comparison, the average office vacancy rate in the US in 2022, when, you know, we were sort of kind of going back to the office, was about like 18%. So we're talking about double that vacancy rate in this building. It's specifically been designed for BMW's purposes, some of which are no longer relevant. So, you know, for example, large computer rooms from the 80s, from when computers were 500 times the size they are now. And it's my understanding that the BMW had been relocating its employees out of this building over time. As recently as, I think, November 2024 was actually when the final employees were relocated out of this the building, as I understand it. So we had done our visit on December 12th, 2024, and you could see from the pictures on here or on your first property evaluation slide that the office was extremely empty, and this was a Thursday during the day. The other major findings of the report are that the major systems of the site, and that's the water, chillers, heating, air conditioning, skylights, major systems for maintaining the working conditions and quality of life in the office, are nearing or past their end of life, and to replace them would cost millions and millions of dollars. The studies conducted by DMR, as well as some engineers that whose reports we consulted, found that the water systems were in poor or degrading shape, and even that the parking garage was significantly deteriorated and would need a major upgrade or repairs in order to be continue to be reliable. So the conclusions of that are that the building is so in such a state that it would not be conducive to a wholesome working environment if it were continued to be operated and occupied. as it currently is. It would be overly expensive to maintain and replace the systems. And what is even more complicated is that because the building was designed for a very specific tenant and very specific purposes, it is not easy to demise the unoccupied portions of the building for to lease out to other office tenants. So it's sort of it's reached a point of obsolescence. So in sum, the property meets criterion A because it has signs of deterioration to the major systems that are crucial to maintaining a functional and wholesome working environment. And it's obsolete in terms of being able to continue to be useful to BMW or to a future office tenant. I am also going to add that it is my finding that the property meets criterion B, which is not stated in the report, but it is my conclusion that this is appropriate. And criterion B is stated at the bottom of the slide, states that a property may qualify as an area in need of redevelopment due to the discontinuance of the use of a building or buildings previously used for commercial, retail, shopping malls, office plazas, office parks, manufacturing or industrial purposes, or the significant vacancies of such building or buildings for at least 2 consecutive years. And I would say that 40% vacancy rate is pretty significant. And it has been that way since 2020. So once again, the report is based on the observation of the conditions on the site is that it is obsolete, degraded, and not conducive to a wholesome living or working environment. And what I'm adding on top of that is that it has been significantly vacant and also a discontinued office use. And for those 2 reasons, it meets the criteria for designation as an area in redevelopment. So obviously now I'm going to open up to questions from the board. I'm sure you'll open up to questions from the public. And then should the board be favorable toward the designation of the property, you would make a recommendation to the governing body to designate the property, and the governing body would make that final decision to do the designation. That's all from me.
Do we know what the total square footage of the building is?
I could probably pull that up for you. I think it was 20. No, this is the wrong report.
21.1 acres.
That's the site. Building, the total square footage of the building is 260,000 square.
260,000 square
Yeah.
feet? And then do we have a rough idea if this building were to be renovated, even like at a cost, would it be $150, $200 a foot approximately on renovation?
I don't have an answer for that. I do know that the report and the attachments to that report have cost estimates for how much it would cost to upgrade the systems that we described and their.
And they still would, and you still wouldn't be able to separate the building into multi-tenanted
It would,
spaces.
right, it would be a whole other
Because of
cost.
the layout.
Yes, exactly.
Plus then you have to deal with the parking garage.
Yes.
You guys have any other questions for Brad?
Parking garage was for employees,
Yes.
correct? It
Yeah.
wasn't for storage of vehicles. Was there anything on this? property
Not that I'm aware of, no. Sorry, what was the question?
And you started saying that the building was designed specific to their needs, which was computers, but I think back in the 80s or whatever, 70s, 80s, all these buildings had big rooms for computers. Was there anything specific to this building that was to do with an auto manufacturing headquarters?
There was some description of it in the report. I couldn't tell you off from memory what it was. There's a here we go. In-house data centers, excessive electrical switchgear equipment. Trying to see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that, but I believe it's in the report.
For example, were there any testing labs?
Sorry,
Were there any labs, laboratories?
I don't know the answer to that either.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a special purpose building built by BMW or modified by BMW. The new building is even more modified. They have research bays and everything in the new. The one next door, that's where they moved us.
Is there asbestos in this building or is it?
I didn't
Is it
see,
too-
I,
It's too early.
I didn't see anything about asbestos. It was built in the eighties and, which I think and hope was when they stopped using asbestos. So my assumption would be no.
Dan, the acreage for the whole property that would be an area in need is 21.18 acres.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't have any other questions. You want to open up to the public? Sally, you have any questions?
Just, you mentioned the cost, in the Desmond report, there's some costs associated with, just with the parking garage.
Yeah,
Can you tell us what those were?
I got $3.7 million, and then there's additional costs in a separate report that actually was not attached to this one, but we can provide that separately. Here we go. It was for each air handler, which there were 11. There was $1.2 million.
That's each handler?
Each handler. So.
Right.
Yeah, $12 million there. And there's like I said, there's a second report that has, that addresses the other systems like the chillers. Here we go. Chillers would be, well, several years ago, the chillers for the kitchen would have been quoted at $8 to $10 million. I'm sure that's more now with everything going on. Trying to find the answer on the water tower, the water infrastructure. That was also in here.
I mean, safe to say that the cost to renovate this building would be worth less than its overall value.
It would be burdensome. Well, the property, the entire lot is assessed at $63 million. So I don't know if I'd say that, but it would certainly be cost burdensome.
Are you finished with your presentation? Do you have other?
I'm done. I'm opening to questions now. Yes.
Motion to open to the public. Second.
All in favor? Anybody in the public have any comments in regards to, or questions in regards to, Chestnut Ridge, 200 Chestnut Ridge, right? 300. This one.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, I do note that there are some members of the public here, and you have the right to ask this witness questions about the study, about his report, about the photographs. You also have the right to testify if you have something that you would like placed on the record. You can have that opportunity to do so as well. If you're going to testify, of course, you'd have to take an oath. Obviously, it would be relative to the property and the presentation made by the plan.
All right, so our decision as a board today is basically to approve or not approve the area in need and make the recommendation for the council to approve it as well. Does anybody have any comments, or if not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the area in need of redevelopment, recommend the governing body take it from here.
And that would be, a yes vote would be an understanding that the statutory criteria met in specifically on page 3 of the study, paragraph A and paragraph B as testified to, would be the basis to determine that the property is in area in need of redevelopment. And that would include a recommendation to the governing body to deem it an area in need of redevelopment.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Richard Carluccio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Panzo,
Yes.
Mr. Sherrill,
Yes.
Vice Chairman DeWong,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Barber.
Yes.
Chairman Boswell.
Yes,
Approved.
thank you, Dan.
Oh, I'm not done.
Not done yet. Do we
First
have
is-
resolutions in there, or that's it?
Yeah.
So. I don't know if you see with Hilton or if you want to do any.
No, you can jump right into it. I don't know if you need to go through the,
Oh, man, but I really want.
the-
Okay, no, yeah, I'll keep that part short. You already heard my spiel about what a redevelopment study is and is not. So the Hilton property, as we all know, it's a 300+ room site in the EAO zone, which permits a range of business, office and hotel type uses. We were authorized to do the study for this property on October 21st, 2024 by way of resolution 24-222. Once again, without condemnation, we exercise the same level of thoroughness, due diligence with this study as we do with all of our other studies, with that I described for BMW. And similar to BMW, the report found that the buildings are substandard, unsafe, unsanitary, dilapidated, or obsolescent to the extent that they are not wholesome for living or working conditions. Again, we're talking about a 338, let me make sure I got that number right, 338 room hotel, 11 suites, 24 banquet and meeting rooms on a 20-acre property on 100 Tices Road. Excuse me, is that the right address? No, 200 Tices Road. We had done a walkthrough of the site in December of 2024. The report describes a range of conditions that are kind of consistent with a building that's in the process of being demoed. But I think the biggest things that I want to focus on are the fact that the building had widespread mold, and it wasn't just in the hallways, as you see on the bottom right picture of this screen. It was also in the bed, in the lodging rooms. It was in common facilities, indicative of a significant widespread critical failure. It also had standing water issues, which is also associated with mold. All telling you that there's water infiltration that's just going on throughout this building, not conducive to not a healthy place to be sleeping or working or making food. It does also have asbestos, which the bottom image is a screen or to reduce the spread of asbestos during mitigation that was taking place during demolition. And of course, in the state that it was in at the time that DMR did its study, the systems, the electric and supports were totally exposed. Rugs were ripped out. Walls were knocked out. And in the bottom right picture, you can see a wall that's, kind of just not even straight anymore. So those are the ones that I think are easiest to show with photographs, but some other issues that we came across were that there's a lack of ADA access to the second level administrative offices, making it challenging for mobility impaired individuals to work or visit such a facility. You'd have to make some significant changes to the building to make that accommodation. DMR also observed major damage and deterioration to the parking areas, to the exterior canopy of the building, and other exterior features. We also took a look at the police records and noticed an increase in incidents in the last couple of years, suggesting that it's attracting some not great behavior. So each of those conditions will, and especially the presence of mold, the major water issue, the asbestos, and the damage that's taken place to the interior, make the building not conducive to or safe for living or working, and certainly not staying over at a hotel. So it is the recommendation of the report that it meets criteria A, and once again, should you agree, you can make the recommendation to the governing body to designate the property as an area in need of redevelopment.
Do we have any, you don't have occupancy rates in this report, but do you happen to know if the full report had any occupancy rates from the hotel for the last few years? I know that the revenue that the town was receiving had dwindled to almost nothing.
Let me take a look. I think. Let me see. I don't think we had that. I don't
It was
believe.
a sad decline, I know.
No, I don't believe we got that data. And also, I think at the time that we did the study, the building already has ceased its being
Right.
used as a hotel.
I just know the history of the tax revenue that we were receiving is indicative of the occupancy rate of the building, and I know it had declined dramatically.
Right. I'm sure that would have drilled in the point.
You know how long the building's been vacant?
I'm trying to find that information.
I think Jerry knows, because we were booking rooms in it for a car event when it went dark.
Oh, yeah.
Glad you didn't say it.
Yeah.
Your PowerPoint says ceased operations February 2024.
Oh, is that what it says? Okay, so that must be, because I know that got, okay, yes, thank you. That must be the answer is that.
Building last, I think I was walking down that way in the fall. A lot of this building's already demolished.
Yes, that is true.
So this report shows all these horrible pictures, but this is subsequent to the demolition starting.
Right, I mean, the mold was there prior to the demolition. You don't get that moldy during the demo process, but
So we don't know what the condition was prior to demolition.
To
me, it might be that they started ripping off part of the roof, they left it for the winter, water got in and.
that's a good point. We don't know that that. What we do know is that when you're statutorily, you're assessing the condition of the building at the time that the resolution to authorize the study takes place. So if demo started in February and they left it as it is over the summer, that wouldn't factor, or they left the roof off, as you say, over the summer and while the rain got in, that wouldn't factor into our assessment. Because clearly at the time that we did the study or that the study was authorized in October, it would not be a safe place to stay.
Jerry, do you remember when we were planning that? Was that 22 or 23? 22? Right, because I think the building, Sanjeev, was foreclosed on at some point.
In March
And the hill,
in
yeah,
March
and-
of 2022.
Of 22, is that what it was?
That's what the sheriff's deed is for 2022.
So it basically sat power off for 2 years before they went in to do their study, which is probably what caused a lot of the widespread.
So you're saying that. There was no hotel operations in January 2024.
No,
Really, there was no operations during the pandemic. The place was empty.
right, I know, but it was still open and the power was still on. And they were booking rooms up
They-
until March of 22. Because we were trying to plan a car show here, and they had half the hotel booked, the car show.
Yeah.
And then we found out a couple weeks later that they went to auction and they weren't honoring a contract.
What is this in, it says April 26, 2024, a change in use for religious services.
That's after it was already on the last page.
Is that in the,
It's the very last
Yeah, that's
page
on the
of building,
building card, the top right.
under building permits and remarks, if you flip over the,
yeah, my report fell. apart.
Oh, there-
Got it. What is that? Which appendix is that? Just,
It's the last page.
it's the last page
of course, that's the one that fell off.
of the large report.
What do you feel? Right. in the corner.
It's not.
Oh, thank you. Great.
Is that the tax part or?
20,
And you-
that's a good question.
It was outside. Something they were renting, they're using.
I think that Bob was using it, I think.
Because I know they
renting
used-
their outdoors, I think they put a tent up, I believe it was.
They were doing it,
outdoors.
that they were doing behind the.
They were
The one on
300, they were-
what's the one on the fountain, with the fountain in front of it?
That's
actually,
50,
That's
the front.
50, that they were
That's more
doing that there
recent.
for a long time.
But when the Hilton property was still there before demolition, I believe the Chabad was renting, I don't know if it was their parking lot or some grounds on the structure, but I believe it was rented at that
Got it.
time for tents and religious services outdoors.
Right.
But I don't believe anyone was indoors.
Right. What is that, the building department's card? I can't. I don't know.
It's the property assessment card and that's this one. This one is good in that it also says what the permits were issued. So the most recent permit must have been a temporary use for a religious purpose. I'm sure it didn't become a church.
No.
Was the
Any,
church.
any other questions from the? Yeah, so you're all,
I'll defer to the board members.
I think they're done.
Oh, just and
Go ahead.
quickly, just so that we have it, so the area in need would be for the property, which is about 20 acres.
Yes.
And the statutory criteria, you mentioned the subparagraph A under local redevelopment and housing law,
Yes,
and with the BMW site, you also mentioned paragraph B.
yes.
What about this site?
Well, so
Does it meet the criteria in subparagraph B?
so I would hesitate to say for sure, but what I was actually thinking before when it was mentioned that the hotel use had stopped in 2022. And maybe during that time before, before it was demolished, if the abandonment of that use caused it to go into such a great state of disrepair that, that was when all the mold picked up, that would meet criteria B, but because I'm kind of taking that as hearsay in this moment, I wouldn't make that I wouldn't recommend that necessarily.
But Sal, if we find just one of the criteria, isn't that sufficient?
That's all you need.
To,
Yeah,
Yes.
you just have to meet one of the criteria. I just thought I'd ask the question because he found two criteria.
Yes. Well, with BMW is much more obvious.
Any other questions from the board?
What was the condition of the building with the current owner took possession, do you know?
I don't. We only know the condition when we did our walkthrough in December, which is when we took all these pictures and identified the mold issue.
If going further, we open to the public,
motion to open to the public?
Second?
all in favor? Any member from the public, just if you could stand up, come up to the microphone, give us your name and town.
So my name is Rudolph Million. I am a 28-year resident of Woodcliff Lake. I live on Woodcliff Avenue.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Milian,
Thank you.
and it's Rudolph, Rudolph. I'm also the CEO of a consulting firm called Woodcliff Realty Advisors that studies land use and best use for commercial real estate. When you look at this property that you have been talking about on Tice Boulevard, mold is the least of my concerns and should be the board's concern as well. The big concern is the entire area. You have buildings all around that are office, which is a sector that's been declining all over the country and certainly in Woodcliff Lake. Business hotels with large ballrooms that are being replaced by things like Zoom meetings and people going out to meet in resorts in warm areas. And so the whole area, I would suggest to the board to analyze, to really look at the area, the entire area for redevelopment. You have a very successful lifestyle center in the front. And right behind it, you have the Party City Holdco that's closed and gone bankrupt. And that could be expanded into more retail. We still have a need for hotels. Hotels are thriving all over the country today, but they're not the business hotels. They're different types of, they're boutique hotels, they're hotels that are extended living, they're hotels that are, more for transients that come in to visit family and just drive up and down the Garden State Parkway. So I suggest that you look at the entire area for redevelopment before you start losing more and more of the value of these buildings. They file for tax appeals. Their occupancy continues to dwindle, and at some point, the tax base is going to be eroded. I would suggest to all of you that that's the area that should be the central business district for Woodcliff Lake. And we have an opportunity to do that, but we have to act quickly because of what's happening with real estate all over the country and certainly in that area as well. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Anyone else that would like to make a comment or ask a question of the planner? Or testify about any fact or consideration they'd like the board to consider? Now's your opportunity.
Motion to close to the public?
Second.
All in favor? All right, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the governing body.
Before you do that, I would like to know from the planner and also anyone that is on the governing body, why other parcels were not considered as part of an area in need of redevelopment.
The governing body only asked us to look at this particular one, but my guess is that they will be looking at others shortly.
That's the only answer.
Yeah.
That's all I've got you. That would be a question for the governing body.
Basically, they passed the ordinance for us.
Like the resolution, no, I realize.
Resolution.
They only, but you're here.
Yeah.
We do
So
have
there
one
are-
of them here.
Exactly.
So there are several buildings on Tice that are still occupied with offices. Some of them aren't. We're interested in meeting with them, but as of right now, this is a property that is in need of a redesignation. And rather than either delay this or unnecessarily redesignate other areas, that would require a more complicated study that we would have to look into authorizing, and those buildings are also currently owned by individuals. And so without those individuals, either selling or, wanting areas in need, it's not necessarily in our jurisdiction right now to
Right,
just
I think
authorize the
determination
study.
is also that we're not going to do, you're doing this without condemnation. And I think that's I just think that, we should be considering and discussing the comments from the public. And so I think we just need to address those. And I think that
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean-
we're doing here. And the fact of the matter is that we're doing this without condemnation. And obviously, some of these other owners may not.
Be willing.
Right.
Right.
But I think I just think we should just.
So, but
think
DMR
that-
was
and I think
only
that-
authorized to do this one, so DMR didn't
Right.
look at anything else because we didn't ask them to.
And I think the governing body is aware of where the office market is going.
Mhm.
And we'll be looking to address that area for some sort of purpose going forward.
Well, you said that it's going to be redesignated. There's no chance it'll remain a hotel.
No. The
I don't mean in the current form. I mean, I thought it's a pretty wealthy company that took it over, right? Are they just looking to make it into more condos? Is that?
There is no interest in this time at using this space for a hotel. I think part of the problem too is that when we've discussed things and we've looked into things, while there are some hotels that are still viable for a town like ours, they're boutique hotels, they're smaller. So this property on 20 acres is just not something that's financially feasible for a boutique hotel to come in and renovate and put a hotel on this property. You know, when the Hilton was done all those years ago, the office sector was very vibrant. So there was, you know, all of Tice had, you know, many companies and offices, and there were obviously many town events that were held there, and people had weddings and bar mitzvahs and communions. But since that's fallen off and people aren't using that space anymore, something of this size is not something that is viable on this property. But that is something that the town would very much like to see as a boutique hotel. And that's why, you know, we are looking at this area, other areas. So we're not in a position where we're going to do the other studies right now. But it is something that we have been actively discussing as things change and the community changes and our development changes. You know, what does the future of Woodcliff Lake look like? But for something of this size, there is not a home for, you know, a large hotel in this community anymore.
Do you know what the intent was of the purchaser when they purchased the property? Was the
The purchasers Garden Homes,
Yeah.
they do residential
Yeah,
development.
exactly. So
Um,
that was my point. More, we don't need more of that, but all right.
We know who the other is.
Wait for the chair to come back.
We have a vice chair, but
Are we
I
locked?
think we should wait for the chairman to come back.
I feel like there should be some sort of elevator music playing while we wait.
Just like an exact thing.
That was in my head.
That's everybody's.
Mark's very nice.
Elevator
Pass his
music.
hand up, we're gonna hear it.
Yeah, we're already closed to the public, but we can talk offline if you. Do we have a motion on the table or not? Well, I thought I had it. Did anybody second it?
Yes, I think we
No, I don't-
have another comment. We're just waiting for you to.
We closed to the public though.
Oh, is that our, oh, okay.
Yeah, we can talk. Do we want to open back to the public? That's up to you.
It's up to you. Entirely up to you.
I mean, it's a short meeting. If you want to open to the public to hear what the man has to say, that's fine.
Yeah, second that.
All in favor? Come on.
Well, you made, Mr. Chairman, some of the comments here about the use and whether another hotel could be built. You know, my concern is the buyers of that property, they're just gonna take that whole 20-acre site and make it into multifamily. And whereas multifamily is a use that is growing all over the country, and it does provide a good return on the investment. I believe that just making that area into multifamily is not the right thing. And then if other properties were involved and we could get other owners to agree, there could be some multifamily, some hotel, and more retail and other uses. So that's all I wanted to address the comments.
I mean, that whole area definitely cannot become multifamily. It would be another city.
Well, I think that's what the owner is gonna propose for the 20 acres.
Right.
Just for the record, your name again, sir.
Rudolph Million.
Thank you.
If you would like, sure, it's open. Come on up. You have to just state your name and I think the town.
Stella, as a Locust Lake.
Could you just spell that for?
Yeah, Stella is SELA. And I just had a quick question about the 20 acres. Is that just gonna be residential as of right now? Is it a plan or they're still deciding?
That's not something that's being determined tonight.
Oh, okay, so this is just like to figure.
So
Just to determine if it's an area in need of redevelopment,
Okay.
Yeah.
right? And then that goes back to the mayor and council, and then they'll discuss what type of redevelopment could be put there.
And what is your?
And there'll be plenty of meetings on that.
Not really, no. I mean, if she voluntarily gives it, I guess you could, but I don't think it's not necessary.
Okay.
What?
I
You wanted to
didn't
know
have a
her,
question.
Oh,
like where in town. Any other comments from the public?
Motion to close the public.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the area in need.
Second.
Roll call.
Hey, Ms. Richards, Carluccio,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marsh,
Yes.
Mr. Franzo,
Yes.
Mr. Scherer,
Yes,
Vice Chairman Yuan,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Barber,
Yes.
Chairman Baldwin,
Yes.
it's approved.
The other item on the agenda, as we discussed earlier, was 60 Shore Road, which may be heard at the next meeting. And again, a reminder, it will not be renoticed. And then we just need a motion to adjourn.
yeah, before we do that, Boris, we have, proof of publication, proof of service on these,
Well,
both
studies, yeah, we
hearings,
do.
both studies, okay.
And now can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you.